all you literary legends and luminaries. I'm Julie and welcome to Write Smart. Today I'm going to talk about Patricia Lockwood's Will There Ever Be Another You? I really went outside my comfort zone with this one. It's a novel. That's right, a novel. So I was searching for books that would teach me about the art of writing. Not that the average memoir doesn't, only that I wanted to expose myself to more writing styles. And I know I'm missing out because I don't read a lot of fiction. Obviously, the cat on the cover got my attention, but it was the story description of the mind's uncertainty and reviews calling it brain shredding. I love those sorts of stories, but I also must admit that when I read a couple pages at Barnes & Noble, it read like a memoir, so I bought it. It sat for a while in my to-read cabinet before I started reading it, but once I did, I loved it. So apparently Lockwood's novel is what would fall under the term autofiction, which apparently became very popular about 10 years ago. This is when authors blatantly use their lives as the framework for the novel, where the events and people closely parallel their own experiences. If James Fry would have labeled A Million Little Pieces a novel, he wouldn't have come under fire, but then he may not have gotten the attention as it wouldn't have been under the guise of a true story. So apparently there are quite a few books that would fall under this category of autofiction. For people like me who prefer memoirs, these autofiction books might be a good bridge into fiction. So first off, I knew nothing about Patricia Lockwood. Her name sounded kind of familiar, but I haven't read anything else by her. I'm not on social media, so I didn't know anything about her popular tweets. I didn't know she posted about suffering from long COVID, and I didn't know that her husband had some sort of horrific bowel surgery. I had no idea there were plans to make one of her books into a limited series. I found all this out after I finished the book. I wonder why she just didn't write a memoir, but oh well. So to give you an idea of this brain shredding, as the review said, let me read you a section. And this kind of falls in the beginning. And she is at the doctor. No, she knew what she needed to tell him. That when she was a child, she had a Cabbage Patch Kid that was not a Cabbage Patch Kid at all. The year that there was a perfect mania for them, stampedes in the aisles, hair-pulling housewives when they couldn't be found in a single store, her rich and hateful grandmother had her personal seamstress sew a knockoff for her. The dimples in her knees made you want to die. The cloth that was her skin rasped. The stitches that formed her ass crack were heartbreaking. The mark of something that would never fool anyone, the way hers now looked when she craned her neck with great pain to look at herself in the mirror. She imagined the woman sewing in a completely dark room, the world before the days. Perhaps she was hunched over, perspiring one step ahead of the law, with all the materials of existence spread around her. Cigarette smoke. The crack of Midwest's ozone. There must have been a moment, the bright needle running in and out, when her doll first felt itself to be a doll, just as a dark felt when Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday first appeared in their squares on that hill, and how it sometimes rose to her now without being there, the deep, empty smell of doll heads. Can't you just see that scene and smell it and feel it? And this is what she's thinking about when the doctor is asking her questions. I just adore it. And I have to admit that part of the reason I loved her book was of all the pop culture references. I was giggling at so much of it. Oak Island of all things, Jared Leto, Kenny G. It's hilarious, and some of them, if you blink, you'll miss it. So you have to read carefully. Some went over my head, though, and I didn't understand parts of it, but that didn't necessarily bother me. The reason is because Lockwood is funny and witty, yet serious and profound with what she writes. And the way she writes is delightful and lovely and inspiring. I was captivated. I can see why so many people like her writing. However, at times I found her writing was too abstract, too obscure, and too confusing. She was too vague at times, and sometimes we would find out a specific detail much later in the book, and other times we wouldn't. And the ending didn't give me much of any closure. I don't mind some of the abstractness, but when I didn't get one joke or one reference or one obscurity, and then I didn't understand another, it started to compound. That's where I have the complaint. A couple can go over my head randomly, but there were sections of the book I thought, it just didn't work for me. I had little concept of what was happening, and then I felt like an idiot for not understanding it, like I was beneath such abstract art. And quite frankly, I don't always understand art, like how a big black dot can be art. But then after a couple pages, I would understand again, and then I would be captivated and all in. I did feel at times as though the author expected me to know what it was she was writing about, and that I should know the references and allusions she made. As a writer, I learned a lot from Will There Ever Be Another You? You don't always have to be so straightforward in your writing. You don't always have to reveal details right away. You don't always have to match the tone with the material. Lockwood's book also reinforced what I already knew. I love witty books and witty writers. I love to laugh, and I love when people don't take themselves too seriously, even in the most serious of circumstances. It also taught me not to alienate your readers, though. Don't be so abstract, so vague, so experimental that your readers become so disoriented and confused. And at times it felt a teeny bit overindulgent. There is a happy medium. But even in some of my confusion, I would highly recommend Lockwood's book to any of you writers out there. Reading a book that's written by a talented writer can teach us a lot, and even if you don't care for the obscurity of the story and her writing to go along with it, you still gain much from how she writes and her sentences and description and wit. I plan to read another of her books, no matter the theme. Her writing is that compelling. Thanks for watching. As always, my goal at Write Smart is to write books so that we can read books and get a little bit smarter one book at a time.